Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Hello!
Welcome to Literarily Wasted.
Wow.
Adam
I don't
has
know.
had so much ginger ale.
Oh, so much ginger ale right now. Welcome. This is the second and final book discussion for The Magicians, where we'll be talking about the whole book, nothing but the book. So help us. I'm Adam,
Christy.
Talia!
Lucas.
and we're coming to you from our own houses due to social distancing, as we always have. But we're really excited to be discussing this book, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
And I hope you are too. Let's do some shout outs real quick, though, for
Really
everybody
impressive.
that's just finished the book right under the wire.
Ooh.
Congratulations. Caitlin says, let's get this party started. Julie Wheeler is here. Hi, Julie. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Gabrielle. Hi, Jenny.
Don't forget our
Hi,
YouTube.
Adrian.
Hi, Randomness. Hi, Lucky. Hi, Candy. Hi, Tammy. Hi, Sphere. Hi, Candy again. Hi, Misty.
Dan, Brandy, Ellen, Jay's here. Jay's staying up, burning the midnight oil so he can come hang out with us
Yeah,
all the
Jay.
way over
Grab
in
the
England.
midnight oil.
Adam's already wasted on ginger ale. It's spicy.
No, yuck.
Um,
Ew.
So Faith says, should I watch this here or on YouTube? You can watch it anywhere.
You can watch it wherever you prefer.
Both.
Over on YouTube, we've got Candy Kitten. Hello. Hey, Tammy. Hey, Sphere. Candy Kitten again, turning into my first book discussion. Welcome. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. This is just a big old fun book community, and we just like to have fun. And we're going to try to acknowledge all your comments and say hey, because this is going to be a fun book discussion. Christy, where should we start?
Well, we finished the book. Well, most of us finished the book, I think.
I finished the book. I finished it.
No,
Okay,
I just,
she was
that
looking
we
at
always
you.
have some people in the comments that haven't yet. But that's okay. What did y'all think?
Well, can I just throw a quick reminder out there? So, and I know I say this because I'm guilty of it. We are only discussing the first book in the trilogy, book 1 of the Magician's trilogy.
Yes.
So please do not post any spoilers for anybody else. We're not talking about the TV show, mostly because I haven't seen it, so I don't know how to talk about it. And
We
so
might talk
don't
about it a little bit.
don't rain on anyone's parade if they have not yet finished the trilogy.
No spoilers. But yeah, so that question, what was the question?
What did you think?
This is for us and for y'all in the comments. You want to start with a general, like, how did you feel about it? What did you think?
What'd you think?
Me?
Give it a
Okay.
gray.
I got some sort of manic energy tonight. I don't know what's
you
going
do.
on.
It's really weird.
You had cake. Don't lie, Adam.
I had
Adam
cake.
right
I had cake. Okay, so finishing The Magicians. Where we left off after book number 1, they basically had just graduated from Brakebills. Then we got into books 2, 3, and 4, and that could have been an entirely different book. It was
Yeah.
like a whole nother thing that we got introduced to. Like, it didn't mess around. It was like, all right, we got through the Harry Potter stuff. Now
Remember how everyone was like, "There's not enough plot." Wham! Plot.
yeah, here's some stuff that's going to really sort of shake up your world. What did I think? I enjoyed it for the most part. It took me a minute to sort of, even with the new scenarios and them going to Fillory and having to explore that concept for a little while before actually going to Fillory. It was very different than what I expected. I didn't expect him to be so mopey like the whole time, which kind of was a bummer for me.
Quentin.
I mean, Quentin, yeah. Quentin
well,
was
that's just who he is.
just kind of a mopey little man, but
It was super unlikable.
yeah. So the thick plottins,
Thick plottins, indeed, Justin.
but and I've got
Waters.
some. I guess I'll just go ahead and make my comparison because like we compared this a lot to Harry Potter, which is the easiest comparison to make.
Well, for the first book.
For the first book. And then we get a little bit of Chronicles of Narnia for the second book.
A lot of Chronicles
But
of Narnia.
This book, to me, was like, and this is not, I got to preface this with, this is not a knock on the book, as much as you might think it would be. But this book, to me, was like Star Wars The Last Jedi was to Star Wars, and sort of what it did to your expectations and to the tone. Like Star Wars The Last Jedi took this thing that you think you know and was like, no, this is not This is not right. Luke Skywalker is not the hero that you think he is. This whole story is not as like grand. It's just kind of like it takes kind of the wind out of your sails a little bit, and that's what this book was to me. Like comparing that to Harry Potter. Like Harry Potter is this like magical, mystical thing, and even when we get into the Chronicles of Narnia, it's still like very
Real.
yes. It takes the magic and mysticism out of magic and mysticism, but it was kind of nice and refreshing. And I'll shut up and let somebody else talk.
So
Mike's static? Okay.
Normally I would make fun of you for such a nerdy comparison, but I agree with you. This book, after book 1, takes such a hard left turn that it kind of threw me for a loop. I was like, hold on, things just got real weird. And I love weird, but like it threw me off course because it felt like such a hard switch. I don't know. I remember just reading it and being like, this is weird. It kept going not where I expected it to go. I did enjoy it, but I had a hard time kind of connecting to some parts of it. Quentin was so unlikable. I kept wanting to slap him. Like,
Yes.
it was a weird thing for me. That being said, and I won't get into it, super, super glad that I kept reading.
Yeah, so tell everyone again. So if you're joining us for the first time, again, welcome. Hit like, hit subscribe. But Talia, tell people what you tend to do with some of these trilogies when we read the first
Some
I
of
book.
like to give them a chance.
And
I read the whole trilogy. And I'm really glad that I did it, and I don't regret it, because it changed my opinion of the first book. It really did.
yeah.
I won't.
Wow.
So know that a lot of what I say tonight is going to be in the mindset where I'm mentally pulling my feelings from the rest of the trilogy, but I'm not going to spoil anything for anybody. But I feel like that is important for some people who might at this point feel iffy about continuing to read. I'm going to be talking to y'all.
And I know there are some people in the group that were like, I'm just not in this, right? And so after hearing Talia talk about it, I would say, yes, you need to
All right,
stick
I need
around.
you to say how you feel about
Yeah,
the
what
book,
did you
because
think,
then I
Lucas?
want Christy to tell, because I really want to hear what Christy has to say. No offense.
That's okay. I get it. I'm the fourth wheel. I enjoyed it. I think it ranks pretty high in all of the different books that we've read so far in the past year, which this is our 12th book. Yeah, it's because we read 2 in October. Yeah, I think this ranks really high. I don't like the characters for the most part, but I like the
Fair.
world building and I like the different takes. I kind of got some Lord of the Rings in this last half of the book. I don't know if you
Interesting.
guys kind of got that too. But no, I like the world. It's definitely grittier, but at least he owns what he's created. But yeah, I would say that this, like the Silo series and like there's Hugo, and the Red Rising series, there's a high probability that I will continue and finish the trilogy.
So we got a lot of people on Facebook, especially. We got a comment that says the books are so much better than the show. It's like Holden Caulfield goes to Hogwarts, and everyone's like, yes, Catcher in the Rye, Holden Caulfield. Y'all get that reference? I read it.
I didn't know.
It's been a very long time.
But he's like this, he's kind of like this broody, like nothing makes him happy, and Quentin is kind of like the Harry Potter of like the Catcher, the Holden Caulfield. Yeah.
Oh, he's a sulky butt.
Okay, so
Here it comes.
I really like the world. I love the concept, taking the magical, mystical stuff out of magic. I just really found that perspective fascinating. I think there was a lot lacking in execution. I really liked the first part. I liked the school, like we talked about, some of the really great things that happened, like, and how it was just so hard and such a, like, everything, it's such a grind to learn magic, and I thought that was just awesome. for some reason. I don't know. It really appealed to me.
You just go like this. That's not it.
And then after he left Brakebills, the book kind of lost me until after Quentin wakes up at the Centaur Hospital. I had I know. I kind of totally checked out. I just wasn't into it. Like, I felt like it was just meandering and pointless, and like there were so many like pauses and holds, and like, we're gonna do this thing, but we're gonna just kind of screw around for a while and not do anything, and we're gonna tell you about that instead of everything else. And I don't know. But then like once he woke up, like I found, like I got the charm back. Like I was excited about the book again after he woke up at the Centaur Hospital or whatever that place was. Like, they replaced chunks of him with wood and like,
Right?
yeah,
Cool.
so freaking cool. And like the way he rediscovers magic and like just excels at it because he's bored. He doesn't have anything else to do, so he just like masters it all. I don't know.
Christy, Lisa Travis wants to know, did you like the ending and will you read on?
I liked the ending enough to keep going. Like I said, I was checked out until he woke up at the Centaur Hospital. And then after that, like, I was excited about the book again. So yeah, I'll keep going. And full disclosure, I've seen the whole series and I loved it. So
There it is.
I kind of know a little bit about what to expect. You know, of course it's going to be different, but yeah, there's some things that I'm really excited about.
Well, it was
Good, because I want to talk about it.
Well, like, it's interesting you say that that's where it picked you up, because I feel like it kind of lost me there.
Really?
Yeah, like I think we had kind of like an opposite reaction to like when he woke up in the Centaur Hospital. I feel like, okay, we're in the epilogue. Oh yeah, he's been there the whole the dog.
That's
yeah,
his spot.
That's where he lives. But like, it reminded me of the end of Casino Royale, the book, where like James Bond like fights the villain and he wins or like gets rescued or whatever, and then he's like he wakes up in the hospital and then there's just kind of sort of meanders around. I thought there were some interesting things about it, like him getting a regular job and
Sort
trying
of.
to like swear off magic and all that stuff. And then of course, like the end of Casino Royale, the movie, they show up and he's like, "We're doing magic again. Let's go." But you know, like I make the Last Jedi comparison because there was a moment at the end of the Last Jedi when Luke Skywalker fought Kylo Ren, and that's when you felt like, okay, this is the Luke Skywalker that I wanted, and this is the Star Wars that I wanted.
Yeah.
And when Alice fought Martin, like I felt that I was like, this is a magic-y action scene, and I'm into it.
Yeah, but the action scene, they just like threw a bunch of bodies at them and they all reacted. And it was interesting how they reacted. Like, I think it's one of the few times when there's killing and death and the main characters are like, "Oh crap, I need to get out of here. This is horrible."
I love that. It's not
yeah.
like everyone instantly became super brave and an action hero. They're like, "Oh my God, someone's bleeding. No.
Yeah,
Like, I didn't sign up
and they
for
didn't
that.
know what to do or how to help, and like that really appealed to me. I love that. Like,
Well, yeah, it was interesting that Quentin was like the most useless
Oh
of
my
all of
gosh.
them.
I love that he saved his demon for last, and he came
Oh.
out, was wearing
a-
glasses, and
a
then
nerd.
just got eaten. He didn't do anything. He was like, "Oh, well, womp."
Rachel
waste of a
Conroy has not
demon.
seen The
Ugh.
Last Jedi. Rachel, you have to watch that.
It's fine.
No,
Don't worry about it.
we're not gonna. That's a different discussion for a different channel.
Gotcha.
Anyway,
Okay.
that's a
Not
geek
great.
fight.
But yeah, like Quentin basically useless throughout the entire ending. In fact, more than useless, actually destructive. Like,
well, yeah, he kept calling the beast. He did it twice, sort
Yeah,
of.
he's
yeah, we-
not making great decisions.
Yeah.
Not doing good stuff.
So, but I'm going to be honest, and I think this is a good sort of jumping off point for a little bit of more of a discussion, because like we kind of skipped over a lot. We skipped
did.
over like the time in Manhattan
Ugh.
when
Ugh.
Quentin cheated on Alice. We
Oh,
skipped
his-
over the
So much
time
garbage
when,
stuff happening in there.
then they went
Penny comes back and tells them about Fillory, and like then they plan for weeks.
They plan forever, and then finally Penny and Alice sleep together, which is when Quentin decides we're going to Fillory, everybody.
Yeah.
And then he just broods about it the whole time. And then they get to Fillory, and then they leave Fillory, and then they go back to Fillory after they meet the nymph, water nymph or whatever. And she gives them the horn. There's some things that happened in that time period that like I was just ready to like kind of move along. Let's get to the next.
Oh
thing.
yeah, it meandered like most of the book.
I will say it started to really pique my interest, and I liked the second half, I think, better overall because it was a little bit more fantastical and magical. But when Penny came back and started talking about the button, I was like, oh, here we go. I did not like a lot of the Manhattan, like just interrelational, just, you know,
the social scene
young
too
adult
was really weird.
social scene crap. But yeah, I was in it from there on out, and you know, and there's some bombshells that I thought Lev Grossman wove together really nicely at the end.
So I agree. I don't like all this stuff, and it shows how unlikable a lot of these are. Like, not just him, but like,
yeah.
But I feel like it's important because I kind of needed the reminder that these are still really, really young people who are super lost. They just got out of school. They're all like dabbling in drugs, and they're partying, and they're being super irresponsible. Yeah. They're being super shitty to one another. They have zero direction in life. And I think that's important because this is a trilogy, and if people are amazing from the beginning, they have nowhere to grow.
Yeah, but they didn't do any growing in book one. Well, except for Quentin getting over Alice's death.
That would be the issue that I have. Is like I did not, you know, when I read this first book, like I would like to think that it can stand alone in terms of like completing some sort of story arc, which it, you know, for Quentin, I guess it kind of did, but like, you know, and we can talk about how interesting this was basically in that like all of these people are basically anti-heroes. Like they're not like traditional heroic types. Like they're...
Well, and that makes sense. That's what Lev Grossman was doing in this book. He was taking an idea that everybody has, this magic school and magic in the world and even the Narnia stuff, and then kind of turning it on its head and beating it. I mean, like, you know, just making it normal and real.
I agree that it's not, I really don't think it works as a standalone.
Yeah, Scott, I agree with you. Even in a series, the individual parts need to have an arc that then fits into the larger arc. See?
Well, Talia, I like that you say that because it did not feel like it could stand alone. Like, to me, it felt incomplete.
Like, this is terrible. I was telling Lucas, I said, if I had to grade this novel on its own, I would give it like a C+. But if I were to give the trilogy a grade as one piece, I would give it an A. And honestly, like, I would say, like, if I had to grade just the book alone, out of everything that our book club has read thus far, this would be in the bottom half probably. Not low, but like, you know, somewhere in the median or right under. Right. But the trilogy as a whole now is probably one of my favorite trilogies that I've ever read. Because, yes, you can say that's a flaw, that the book doesn't really stand alone, like stand well on its own. But I felt like he created the trilogy, like he planned the whole thing out before he actually wrote the individual books.
Like Back to the Future.
And that is what really hooks me, because after you read them, they all weave together so beautifully. And I hope Scott doesn't mind. Scott McClellan, one of our book club members, actually texted me today to ask me a question, because he was saying that he's like bleh about this book, and he was like, should I keep reading? And I told him all that stuff, and I was like, yeah, you know, the first book's just kind of this weird kind of setup, and you kind of don't know how to feel about it. But honestly, after reading the trilogy, I now want to reread the whole thing again with like these new eyes of seeing what he created.
It's a lot of faith, though.
If they don't start at the bottom, they don't have this. They have nowhere to go, and I don't know.
I can't subscribe to that.
I mean, but I do like that you like the trilogy as a whole and thought that it was way better than this book. Because, I mean, I want to keep reading, so this is really good to hear.
I mean, you're making me want to keep reading. I don't know if I necessarily would if I read this book in a vacuum by myself. You know, like I feel like, all right, cool.
No, and I completely agree with that. This reads to me like flat. Think of them as like flat, colorful threads. Like they're kind of pretty to look at, but it's just a bunch of strings. And then by the time you read the whole trilogy, it is a complete tapestry that tells a giant story.
So we've got some questions in the comments that I wanted to go back and see if we can maybe acknowledge. We're getting into some of the minutia. What were you gonna say?
Are you doing this one?
Yeah.
Okay, really quick before we do that. One of the things in the last live stream that like kind of cracked me up is that Adam was so frustrated with Fillory. He even said like, if they mention Fillory one more time, I'm gonna lose it. And like me having seen the show, like I know where this is going, and it was so hard not to just laugh.
I should have known. But I remember when Penny burst in, he was like, Fillory's real. I was like, oh, okay. All right, here we go.
And he told me after he got to that point, and finally I was just able to release like, so how'd you feel about Fillory now?
You know what? You gotta embrace it. You gotta embrace that they're gonna go to this place with talking animals, and then it's gonna be great. I didn't mind it. I didn't mind it once they committed to it. The thing that I didn't like was the entire time, and I guess it was just a big old setup for book 2, but like he's in this magic school and he's still like in Fillory, which would be the greatest place of all time. I would love to this. And then he finally goes there and he's like, I hate everything.
I mean,
jerk.
He had just ruined his relationship.
So let's get into some of the minutia here, because we got some good questions in the comments that would lead to some good discussion points. So Justin asks, so how much did Fogg and them know about Fillory? Fogg was definitely aware of Jane, right?
Well, yeah. Fogg.
Hey! Sorry.
I was
be like, hey, remember how I was like, so who is Jane really? Because everyone's like, she's a teacher. And I was like, no, she's not. She's someone else.
She's a Chatwin.
Yeah. Good job. But yeah, he definitely was like, oh, you saw her? She's here? I mean, Fogg definitely knew about her.
And they did reference in that room that he and Penny and Alice were studying, and they had the mirror. They had like a hill or a mountain or something that looked very similar to something in Fillory.
I missed that.
But it's interesting that like, and this was my question to Christy when we were discussing like all the questions that we had, was like, why would they not just teach them this? Why would they not just say like, hey, you know y'all love these books. Hey, that's a real place.
But also like Fogg knew that Jane was around, and he probably knew that she was recruiting people for this mission. Like when he knew that she was going after Quentin, he should have pulled Quentin aside and like warned him or started teaching him battle magic or something.
They were very underprepared.
Oh my gosh,
Magic missile.
And magic missile sounded so weak compared to like all the other stuff.
I don't know. I kind of like that he's like, I mean, these are kids that like may have played D&D, and they're like, we'll just call it magic missile, man. It's like
I know.
thing. So I was like,
it was more of that real world influence. And be like, these are just some nerds.
Well,
and
it's like the same thing when they're fighting. And I think that's where you have, like you were saying, Talia, where you have to realize like these are young kids still, right? Like just out of college, and they're like, you know, when they're fighting this like evil creature that used to be human, and they're like, hey, effer, like, what's up? I'm going to shoot you in the head, you know, like, and it's just like, I don't know, like, I kind of appreciated that in a way.
I appreciated the fact that they had no idea what they were doing. That was nice. Except for Alice. And when Alice started doing her thing, I was like, yeah, she's
like, I totally believe that Alice would know what she was doing. Like, she doesn't stop studying.
That's true. Okay, so here's another question from Ian. I missed it, but what happened when Quentin went back to Brakebills? All I remember was he used the key to go back, and next I remember he was working in the office. My sense was that he met with Fogg, and Fogg hooked him up with the job.
That is
Yeah, that's-
exactly what happened.
I think that's all that happened,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And Fogg was like, here's a regular job for you. Have a good time.
I don't know why he didn't just go to the ATM and do his like whatever. I'm gonna get all
Because
the
they
magic
have all
out.
the hookups.
Yeah, getting that embrace the Fillory t-shirt.
Also, I just want to know, am I the only one that when all of this happened, when Penny showed up and then took them there, and am I the only one that immediately went, Alice in Neitherland?
Oh.
It's Alice in
Alice
Neitherland.
in Neitherland.
No,
except she didn't really want to be there.
but it didn't matter. Her name was Alice, and she was in Neitherland, and I got excited because it's another book reference, because he puts so many references in there, and I love it.
So we do have some people in the comments that are discussing what we're talking about in terms of like, does it feel like a complete story? You know, and there's people that are embracing the realism of you know, like life doesn't work out like a happy story all the time. Like it just is what it is.
I was fine with that, and I was fine with the realism. I just wanted more things to happen that actually contributed to the story.
Joseph says, welcome to how life works. We're often looking for something more, and sometimes when we get it, it's like, oh, that's it? I worked
Yeah.
that hard for only this? Tell me about it. But no, I get it. And, you know, I think that in talking about it, I can come to appreciate what happened. I can come to appreciate that aspect of it. Because, again, as the anti-Harry Potter, as the anti-Narnia, as the anti-fantasy, basically, you know, he committed to it. And I can appreciate that.
Yeah, totally.
Dan asks if it's Neitherland or Neitherland.
It's Neitherland
it's
because
neither
of
in
the
the
English.
audiobook. Yeah.
Well, and because of the English influence, it would be Neitherland.
Yeah.
Neitherland, like the author of the books, Pluver or something like that, who turned out to be a terrible
Plover.
person.
Y'all,
yeah.
okay, this is not funny, but I did laugh at it. At the end, when Jane was like saying, you know, don't judge Martin too harshly. We think this is what
was
happened
abused
between
by
he and the author. I was like, oh my God. In the beginning, the old dead guy, he was like, he's probably a child molester.
Oh,
That
I
whole
didn't even
joke from the
connect
beginning, I was like,
those. Yeah.
Wait, what joke in the beginning?
When the
The-
dead...
The interviewee that died.
The interviewer?
Interviewer, yeah.
Oh, that was so long ago.
I know.
So what? But what?
Full circle. Child
Well, because in the beginning,
Explain.
he goes for his interview, and then the guy's dead, and he makes a joke about the child molester, but then he even looks at the dude's grandfather clock and is like, I should go in there. And
Yeah.
so
Oh wow.
circle.
Oh, what?
yeah.
You
Full
blew my
circle.
mind just
Remember,
now.
he reached into the back and there was nothing there, and that's when he
Yep.
turned around and he saw the dead guy on the ground. And then they're standing there when the paramedics are coming in, and he's like, "Oh, he's dead. I guess I should feel bad. Well, maybe he was a child molester." And then Jane, when she came over, made the reference to the joke of him being like overheard
Yeah.
him saying the line about being a child
my
molester. And then
God.
in the end, I'm telling you, it's all woven together. Everything he said was so
Wow,
intentional. Okay.
I will say that's. I did not even. I mean, I remember the Plover thing.
I know Jeff is bringing it up. I'm not saying it's the same guy. I'm just saying, notice that every
It's
single thing that Lev puts in this
bookended.
book is intentional, and it all.
It's Mr. Grossman.
And you said too that like if you carry through to the third book, there's stuff that goes all the way back that
He's pulling every single thread
Wow.
together
You got-
from
you
page
got-
1 to the very end.
You got like 500 and some odd pages though, like for me to remember that, like and nearly a month, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Oof.
Love
So
it.
much happened in that time period.
Brandy says mind explosion. That's I didn't catch that at all. I mean I mean because you have to have some level of empathy and sympathy for
Okay.
Martin. He still sucks, but yeah, I mean you understand his motivation then to escape.
Yeah, Kaylin says, "Holy poo!" I did not connect those two scenes at all.
Yes,
Holy
it is
poo,
holy poo.
indeed, Caitlin.
So here's something that I thought of. I think I told you about this, or maybe I just like thought it really loud when my brain was running a million miles.
She does that.
So here was a big difference that I noticed when I was comparing the Red Rising series, or we'll just call it a trilogy. This is technically one. The Red Rising trilogy to the Magician's trilogy, because I've noticed that the authors both do this. Oh my God, I can't even say words. I'm so excited. Both of them love to put in these ahas. But the difference is, we talked about how Pierce Brown in Red Rising would just explain stuff after the fact. And that was like the aha,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
stuff just magically worked out, or like these really cool things would happen. And then he would explain it all to you afterwards. We got no peek at anything. We had no clue what was going on. And then afterwards, he would just explain it and be like, oh, that's how it all just like magically worked out really
You're
well.
like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, well, Lev Grossman puts everything in there. Every single puzzle piece is already in there, and he just has not given you the full image reveal until the end. So you see all this stuff later, and you're like, oh my God, all those pieces were already there. So the aha is literally like those puzzles where everything looks crazy sculpted, and then you pull that one final string and everything perfectly falls into place.
Yeah, it just
So
shouldn't
it's a
have to.
legit
We just shouldn't
reveal.
have to rely on people telling us that.
No, but that's the thing. He doesn't. He shows you. You get to find out all these things incrementally, and it's amazing. Whereas, like, Pierce Brown legit had to tell you
Well,
everything.
Adam,
Yeah.
did you like the aha moments? Like when,
I love me some aha
like
moments.
finding out that it's Martin and Jane? Like,
I did.
yeah, were those
I
good?
did. I like that. I thought that was nice. You know, there was part of it that was like, well, this is a little neat, but but I, you know, like it's like if I can make another Star Wars comparison, how everything revolves around these same characters, it's like, oh well, all right.
Yeah.
But I liked it, and even more than that, like I liked, and I was fascinated, and I kind of wanted to see. If there was some sort of prequel to this book. What I would really like to see is Jane Chatwin as Doctor Strange trying out like every single combination of like recruiting these people and trying to
I thought
kill
that-
Martin.
She's like, I already did all the combinations, and this is the only one where someone won.
Yes.
But yes, Alice was Iron Man, and a sacrifice was made.
Give me a multiverse any day, because you know, one of the things that I mentioned to Christy, I didn't post this in the topic discussions, but like I love multiverses. I love thinking of these infinite possibilities and these infinite realms. And what it got me thinking of is, okay, if she's tried all these combinations, I got back to thinking, and this is before the end of the book even, what about Julia? In another realm, did Julia go to Brakebills, and did she go through everything, and was she in the room and
Wait,
she failed?
I do want to talk about your alternate realities, but I feel like that's a bigger discussion. So hold on. Can you
Okay.
hold on one
She's
second?
pausing
Because
me.
Missy and Caitlin have some good points. They're
Okay.
saying, when we were talking about Martin and being abused, Missy says that's still no excuse for eating people. True story. Caitlin says Martin's childhood did not justify his psychotic transformation.
Also
This
true.
is true, but he does mention, Martin says that they don't know what he had to give up, what he went through
it's
to
humanity.
get to how he became the beast.
But they also said that the reason the Rams always kick the kids out is because if the humans stay in Fillory too long, they turn
They
psychotic like Martin.
beastlified.
Yeah. So I don't know if that. I think he ran away because of his past, but then he transformed because he was in a place where he
Yeah.
shouldn't have been.
And Adrian and
Exactly.
Scott, y'all get what I was trying to say. Says he needs to write a stronger book to inspire me to read ahead on my own.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all.
That
that's
is
was
what
trying to
I
say.
am here for. I am here to bully you into continuing to read.
My
this.
point is that we shouldn't have to have that though.
Well,
I know. No, I agree with you. The first book is not enough of a hook on its own, but it's
Yeah.
worth it if you keep going.
So
Randomness
if I-
Rules on YouTube says, did you pick up on why Martin had extra fingers? I did not.
I did not.
And maybe randomness,
yeah.
if you have some insight, I did not pick that
Well,
up.
you got to
so
think,
yeah,
if
please
you
chime
have
in.
to have amazing magician hands for casting,
Oh yeah. you
how much
gotta-
better are you at casting when you got all those extra
Right,
fingies?
I didn't pick up.
So going back
Bing, bing.
to the multiverse thing, and this is
Okay.
a question that I had that I don't even know, like, you know, if we can say what the answer, but I want to know what the answer is. What was it about this time that worked for Jane? Like, she tried this combination of things.
what was the tipping
What was
point?
the
Yeah.
what was the thing? What was the
Well, I want to know how much influence she had on everything. Like, did she push Alice and Penny to hook up to inspire Quentin to go to Fillory finally? Like, did she control, like, did she, like, push everything around? Like, I want to know how much input she had.
Yeah, that's what I want to know. I was like, hey, how many strings was she pulling? And like, and then what was the thing that she did differently that she thought, okay, maybe this will do it? Because you
Don't
even
look at
have
me.
here, I'm going to spoil your
Oh, go ahead.
little talking point, because Jane specifically chose Quentin for the task of vanquishing the beast, yet he isn't the one who winds up killing him. So was she thinking in more like complicated layers here?
Oh,
of like,
definitely.
if I get Quentin in here, then Alice will kill the beast. Like,
Yeah.
certainly she has to be thinking some layers, like a chess player. It's like, he's the key to get her to do the thing, because obviously he's worthless.
Well, him coming
Yeah, how many
and
times
ensured,
have they gone there?
yeah, definitely. But also him going ensured that 7 other magicians came with him. I don't know why 8 magicians all went to Fillory, especially
Yeah.
when like half of them did absolutely nothing. But like, it was Quentin's group. It was inspired by him.
Yeah, they're like,
pushed
we have
by
to
him.
keep this a secret. Let's bring everybody.
Well, and I wonder too if you notice when they're fighting Martin, and he references going back to the school, and he says maybe I picked the wrong student. You know,
To eat, yeah.
in what universe did he pick a Quentin or somebody that would have been more influential? But you know, I can't even remember the
Oh my god, I want to reread the
girls-
whole trilogy
the girls
again now.
saying, but
Ooh,
like,
Justin's got a good point here.
what's that?
I wonder if Jane led to Charlie's Niffin death to set up Alice to do the same at the right moment.
It's totally possible. Like she could have just set up everything for the last like however many years. Just
She's
pulling
playing-
strings.
He's playing quilters. And
Welters.
different levels. What is it?
Welters?
Yeah.
Welters.
Well,
did you
sorry.
say quilters?
Yeah, I said quilters. Sorry.
So Ellen asks, and where the heck did Richard go?
Yeah, Richard was kind of.
Why was he even there?
Why was Richard?
And
was Richard?
Josh's girlfriend, like, why
Richard
was she
like the
there?
pretentious.
He was the upperclassman. He was like a class above.
Yeah, exactly. Who is Richard? Why? Why was Richard?
He didn't go with them, but then he found them and got them all out somehow.
I guess he was kind of that.
How is Richard?
You know, he kind of just came in and was like, oh, and then Richard stayed back, but then he came in and he.
Well, I
he
mean,
got
they
us out
talked
of there
about
with
him
his
before.
invisibility spell or whatever.
Like, there was some mention of him when they were still at Brakebills. They mentioned how, you know, Richard was to Janet and Elliot as Janet and Elliot were to Quentin.
Jody wants to know what was the purpose of the French girl. I kind of agree.
That's
There's
Josh's girlfriend.
No purpose. None.
Well, she hooked up with the guy that was there.
So
She hooked
what?
up with everybody.
Nothing came of it. Like, it was totally pointless. It's just another name that we have to like keep track of.
Yeah, with a weird
the fleur
spelling
de la
and
cour.
2 dots
Yeah.
above the
What
I.
was her name? I forgot.
Anais or something.
Something like that.
Anais.
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 Is that how
I
you
didn't.
say it?
I didn't listen to it. I only read it, so I had to make up the sound in my head.
I listened.
That would be so helpful. I will
Yeah.
say I can't pay attention to audiobooks, but it would be nice to know how everything's supposed to be pronounced.
Because now, like, if that's how you spell it, I have no idea. Anais is how they pronounce it. And I will say the audiobook was very good. If you listen to that, the guy's British accent is really pretty fantastic. And he, I think he's American, but then he, when he switches to Martin and Jane, he has a really solid. Jay would have to give us an assessment, but I think it's a solid, passable British.
So Nikki brings up a good point that Anais ended up being like a serious killer. Like she was.
That's true.
like, stone cold about like she.
Yeah, she was
like,
a little
helping.
creepy.
She did,
But
but
I
I
think-
also felt she was just extra. She didn't
But-
need to be there.
So
Does
who
it
who all was
also-
extra? Huh?
Okay, but does it also show that maybe, so she came from a different school, right? It was talking
Yeah.
about all the differences, the different focuses of the different schools all over the world. So maybe that was to show how Brakebills was very specific about not focusing on like defensive magic versus,
Offensive.
yeah. And so maybe it was simply to highlight that there are different kinds of magicians all over the world focusing on different kinds of things.
Well, and Quentin doesn't know what his focus is, right?
His
Still,
discipline.
yeah, it's discipline.
He is disciplineless in every fact.
I do
facet of-
love that they address that at the very end of the book. They're like, you still don't know what your discipline is. Let's go find out. I really appreciated that they brought that back.
It just reminds me of like thinking about Anais being a killer, and then thinking about like Quentin, who was anything but. There's a moment where the big fire guy comes out and like starts dispersing everybody and kills Fenn.
Yeah.
And then
Super
Quentin
sad.
just books it. He just gets out of there, and then was it Josh that ended up killing the guy with
he
his
created
black
one
hole?
of his black holes.
He's like, dude, did you see his junk? It's like, whoa. Okay.
He's like a frat guy.
Yeah, he was.
I mean, I guess they were all kind of, they all had these like sort of, sometimes they seemed like fratty, and then other times like they seemed kind of like uppity.
They're a bunch of young, pretentious genius. You got to remember, every single one of these douchebags is also a genius.
Oh, yeah.
So that lends to you having some kind of life. If you are the top of every class that you've ever been in, that has an effect. And you're depressed, that has an effect on who you are as a person. So these are some super, super smart jerk faces.
Those of you who are in the comments that were at the top of your class, is this true?
That
Yeah.
was Brakebills.
Adrian on Facebook says that Quentin's discipline is self-pity.
Oh yeah, he's a natural at that.
Yeah.
He's a natural at like blaming everybody but himself, too, which is I would say like really just kind of made me hate him throughout the whole book. Like the way he handled the situation with Alice after he cheated on her, and then the way he handled it after she, I guess, revenge cheated on him, was just. I hated it. I hated him.
Oh,
Like,
they are immature. They are immature little shitballs.
Okay, but
sorry, they are. They're the worst.
Yes, they're all that like age of like person where you're like, oh, looking back. Who was your favorite character, or did you have a favorite character?
No.
favorite character?
Yeah.
Oh man.
I mean, it's easy to say.
Say Martin. No. I don't know.
I could appreciate different things about different characters. What I loved, this is not really answering the question, but Janet brought a gun to Fillory and whipped it out and started shooting all the creatures in the cave, and I just loved that.
Yeah, and then Alice used it to shoot Martin.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I really liked Alice, I think, and Elliot and Janet have such an interesting relationship.
There's something super ballsy about Janet that I like, and just kind of like whatever. And even though Penny is an obnoxious pill, there's something I really like about him too.
Yeah.
And I feel really bad that his
Penny.
hands got bitten off. And also that image is burned into my head. First off, not of just Martin's like freakish mouth opening and him biting the hands off. That legit, I gagged when I was reading the book, and that was tough to get through. But no, the image when they go back to the Netherlands and he, with his ruined arms, runs up to the library and basically like offers himself up and the doors open to him. That was beautiful to me.
Yeah, I want to know.
Just eats him.
I want to know if we find him again.
I guess you'll have to find out.
I thought it was commendable that even given everything, Quentin asked that as one of the wishes. I said I want my friend Penny's hands to be regenerated.
That's a tiny
He's
bit
like,
of redemption.
Yeah, and then the wish giver's worthless.
Stag's
They're like, I can't do
sorry, man.
can't bring Alice back. Can't.
He's like, hey, I'm gonna lump those together as your first wish. Sorry, let's move on.
And he's like, just send me home.
Going back to you asked who favorite characters were. A lot of people saying Alice and Janet.
Yeah.
Most people said Alice. She probably had the most solid head on her shoulders.
She was also
She's the Hermione.
least worst.
Yeah, she was the least worst, and I think that's why I liked her the best.
Yeah.
Tammy on YouTube says no favorite character.
Yeah.
I love that she took him to Netherland, and then as soon as they got there, it was like, wham!
Oh yeah.
It was like, now we're going to have a throwdown. I
And I
held it
think-
together, but no.
Alice was striking in that when she talked, she had something to say, and she didn't talk unless she had something to say. And so like anytime Alice spoke, I wanted to hear it. So that was nice. Everybody else kind of runs their mouth, spouting all these sort of flowery whatever. But then Alice is the quiet person who, when she speaks up, you're like, oh, she's talking.
Yeah. I love that.
The dog moved. Yes, he's alive. Yeah. What else? What are the talking points you got on there? We got people talking, asking questions. What you got?
Did y'all see the reveal of the Beast and the Watcher Woman coming?
You mean like who they were?
Who they were, yeah.
No, I did not.
So Martin coming in like completely blindsided me 100%. I knew there was something about the Jane character, so I knew she would have some connection. Like, I even kept thinking about it. Remember how, another thing I remembered, in the very beginning, remember when she was the paramedic and he's describing her, he says this woman, and she was wearing a very, very intricate, particular kind of watch. So, like, he fed those details into the very, very beginning. Like I said, he does that a lot. But, so I knew there was something about her. That one wasn't as shocking, but it was still, like, a really cool reveal. But no, Martin, when that happened, I was like, ew, no.
I think for me, I just kind of discounted the kids and the story and the world as kind of like a, hey, this is Narnia, and here's Edmund and Lucy and all these kids, and they went and did this thing. I didn't really think much of it other than it was a world building, and somehow these kids actually did go. I didn't think that they would actually come into the story.
Yeah,
but they did.
But they did.
One of the things I loved about Martin's reveal was he's like, it's me, Martin. And they're like, who? He's like, what? But the disguise. Of course you didn't know who I was before, but now you know.
See, let me get rid of this branch.
And they still have no idea. And that tickled me.
So lots of people in the comments saying that they did not see the twist coming. And you got to hand it to Lev Grossman. He lulled me into such sort of mundaneness that like I wasn't actively thinking, and I don't know if this is a fault or like if it is intentional and genius by design, but like there's so much sort of wallowing and mundane, sort of directionless that like the twist does hit, when he blows the horn and the beast from book one shows up, you're like, oh, it's the guy.
I was so mad that he blew that horn.
He was egged on too. Like everyone was like, "Yeah, do it, Q."
They all knew, like this is the time, and it was
even
a
Alice
trap.
was wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he showed up, and I was like, "Oh, that's when I like it, like sort of zapped me out," because you had these like battle scenes, and even the battle scenes were kind of like, but and then they finally confronted Ember. And they were, I'm making so many references, but that was like a Star Trek V moment for me.
Oh my God.
Where, the plot of Star Trek V is they go to the center of the galaxy to find God. And they find God, and then God's like, let me travel on your starship and take me with you. And everyone's like, oh yeah, this is amazing, it's God. And then Captain Kirk's like, wait a minute, what does God need with a starship? And it's like this whole like line of questioning. It was like, how, if you're this like all powerful thing, like what is wrong with you? Like what's going on? What happened to your leg? And like I had a real Star Trek V moment there. And then he was like, you know what? I'm gonna blow this horn. Yeah, that's what I should do. And then he blew the horn. And yeah, Kathy said, I feel like Ember could have warned him a little faster.
Yeah.
Because he was kind of like, no, stop, don't do it.
Stop. Wait, come back.
She's a rare. So Joe says something funny. He says, I love that the clock trees freaked Martin out because he couldn't figure them out. And that's true. So like Jane's like, yeah, I made the clock trees. She's like,
just to bother my brother.
But he was so scared of them. But he was scared of them because he didn't understand them. And that's such a good insight into like who he's like worked so hard to become this almighty beast. And they're just trees with clocks in them. And he's like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
Justin says, I loved how Q also spaced out when Ember was speaking. Initially, like he wanted to speed through a cutscene. Now he was like, I kind of glossed over his speeches in the books too. So he was like living
Yeah,
out.
I really enjoyed that too.
Yeah, I like that too. Total Willy Wonka moment. No, stop.
So in Willy Wonka moment, and I know this probably isn't a Willy Wonka thing, but when Martin says button, who's got the button? That took me straight to Wonka, and I know there are a couple other people. I think it was Dan. It's a Willy Wonka thing where he's trying to find. I think it's the. I don't know. It's somewhere later.
You've
in
seen
the
that
film.
movie more than I have.
Button. Who's got the button?
Yeah,
No, I love
remember
it.
That from but the Willy Wonka, you can make the comparison that like, this whole thing, not necessarily a contest, but like they were sort of playing to win the keys to the castle, basically.
They were. That's why they went to Fillory. That's why they went on the trek and had the guides, like, to go get the crowns.
Can we back up for a second? Because that just kind of, what kind of motivation is that? Like, let's go to this place and rule it.
Well, gosh, even after Quentin gets hurt and gets healed by the centaurs, he's like, I'm going to go find a quest. I'm going to follow this quest-giving beast or stag. And then he, like, follows him across
Button
the
was
world.
the golden ticket.
Ah.
But like,
But
think
yes,
about
okay.
it. Okay,
But, like,
I'm trying to think about it from their point of view. So these are these crazy super geniuses. They can manipulate magic. They're depressed. So they're searching consistently for something in life. Their entire life is basically a quest for happiness. But also, the way that their magician infrastructure is set up is where you have to find something productive to do with your life or you do nothing.
Yeah.
So it's not like they have to go get a real job. They don't have to like worry about their mortgage or doing normal things. It's such an elite, strange, foreign mindset.
Yeah.
What else are you going to do? Like,
like,
if you have all this ability and you're like, hey, the opportunity has presented itself to be a ruler of a magic land, what say you?
I get like,
Like-
let's go to this magic land and take on quests and live out sort of the book fantasy, but like to automatically jump to like, let's go to this land and rule it seems like a kind of a
You've
sort of a
never wanted to
narcissistic-
wear a crown?
That's also the history of Fillory. Like, only humans can rule it.
Because-
And they're
humans
also
are the kings and
obsessed
queens.
with these books.
yeah. I mean,
Like,
I thought it was just
They
Quentin.
all love
but
it. Like,
turns
if
out-
someone offered me a chance, hey, do you want to go to Hogwarts? I'd be like, heck yes, let me get my owl and my trunk. I'll be right with you.
Yeah, Julie says, otherwise you become Alice's parents. And
Yeah.
That's right. It's like, hey, I ordered a pizza. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
but
be
they had
down
a
at the
sweet
spa.
setup though, like that's what
I would wear a
like for
toga
my
all the
life.
time, for sure. That would be awesome, actually.
But I agree. Like if they were like, I got a call and they were like, this is the Enterprise, would you like to beam up? I'd be like, all right.
Can I bring Christy and the
Wait, no,
dogs?
we need to talk about this.
No, I would go.
Oh my
can-
god. She must love you like Alice.
But I guess it would be like, yeah, I'll go. And can I be the captain?
So what do you?
Nerd.
So randomness rules on YouTube says, what do you think of how Penny acted in Fillory? He really kind of took that role on, right? Like he was kind of like,
loved
does
it.
thou think we should go
He
here?
it's like his excited nerd. Like, he always pretended to be so hardcore, and he has this mohawk, and he's like trying really hard. And then once he realizes this is a real place, he's like, ooh, Ember's a ram god. Hello, my lord.
Yeah, let me bow before thee.
Like, I loved it. We got to see that other side, that super nerdy side of Penny.
I liked
Yeah.
it too. I mean, it also seemed like he was the only one that really sort of knew the rules of the world.
And he was the only one taking it seriously.
Yeah, he took it seriously, which is good. Oh, so Caitlin brings up a good question too, and this is the sort of question that I had. So they knew that there were 4 thrones, so that 4 people could rule. Why did they have it sort of worked out already? Like who was going to take those thrones? Because they took like 100 people.
They took 8 people.
So like, how was that
Whoever
going to work
lives.
out?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Like because they didn't really talk about it. But like, we'll just go and we'll rule Fillory, and that if that actually happened, and they were all together as a group, we would have a whole nother book to this. Like the book 5 would be them just arguing.
Didn't they acknowledge that? I feel like at some point that someone acknowledged it. They're like, who's going to be the king? But hey, we're all here anyways. Right?
Yeah.
I can't
feel like I've read
remember.
that somewhere.
I know at the end they're like, well, we need a 4th person because there's
Mm.
4 kings and queens.
Maybe you just want to hang out with a talking beaver or something. Like that's cool.
Or the bear. The
bear.
The bear that loves schnapps.
Dumble.
Oh yeah, he was a simple little bear.
Rumble
Grumblebutt.
And I,
What was his name?
I don't remember.
Someone type in the comments what his name was.
It
I
was
don't
like
wanna find
Bumble Grumble or something.
Bumblebutt. He was just he was just talking around. He's like, well.
and I like that Quentin called him over to the. He was like, "My good man," like Mr. Bear, sir.
Not me.
But it was
Put on,
interesting
like,
that
a southern accent for that too.
yeah, like when they came, like it was in that bar where they sort of. It seemed kind of almost nonchalantly were sort of told about their quest. It was like, yeah, you should go to this cave and get this thing.
Humble Drum. Thank
Yes,
you, Brandy.
thank you.
Thank
Humble
you.
Drum.
And Missy,
And
thank you. Everyone remembered except for us.
And the twig.
Twig.
Yeah. What was the twig's name again? Because
Like
Dan
Julie
had a
said, Humble
question.
Bear?
What was the twig guy? Twiggy, I'll just call him. What was he talking about in the back room while they were, obviously because he was conspiring, right? Like he was a
I don't
bad
know.
guy.
They have their own lives. It didn't just like revolve around them.
I mean,
He could
come
have
on,
been
if he
taking care of
knows
business.
he's on the inside, he's kind of like.
Well, there
Mr.
was also a war going on in Fillory. There was, I guess, the Rams people versus the Watchers.
Yeah, what
women's
exactly were the
people?
sides of the war?
Ember
I wanna go
versus
back to-
Martin.
Because
Really?
I know a couple people were talking about Turkish Delight, and I was totally getting that vibe of the coach coming
Yeah.
and, here, have some Turkish Delight and come with me, but there's a praying mantis that shoots an arrow at him.
So you said
And I need to go back and
And
see
Penny
what that is.
stopped it like a BA.
Yeah, that was awesome. But you say it was Ember versus Martin, but where was the Watcher woman
I think
in all that?
the politics. I don't think Martin had an army or like followers, except for like the water nymph. I kind of got the impression it was the Watcher
All
woman.
those bad guys worked for him. Their little guardian, their little person who wasn't Fen, I forgot his name, but the one who wasn't Fen worked for him.
Deets or
The
something?
bear and the twig worked for him. Like, it was all the plot.
Well, like the dude sort of snuck out, and that sort of clued him. But I thought he worked for Ember.
Yeah, there were also like followers for Ember and Umber.
But then, but
they were
like
scared of
Fen,
Martin.
Yeah, Fen and the other. What was the other?
Fen
guy's
wasn't.
name?
Fen was good, but then died. The
Didn't.
other dude. The
Didn't.
dude who slept with the French girl.
Yeah, but then
I don't remember
so were
anyone's
the
names. This is
bunny
terrible.
and
Dent
the-
says Kaylee.
So I don't know.
Sure.
Maybe we'll find out more of like whose side was whose.
Maybe.
We keep reading. I don't know.
Lucas, going back to what you were talking about with the Netherworld and the like parallel universes and stuff, I don't know why Penny spent like 3 months in the Netherworlds and he didn't go into any of the other fountains.
I think
Is
he was
that right?
scared.
Yeah, he
They
spent
were very
3 months there,
focused
though.
on getting to Fillory more than any, which is seems kind of like a waste.
I mean, and they do mention that Josh is going back to like find the Lord of the Rings land.
Middle Earth.
Yeah, that's right.
That's true.
But like, are those fountains all going to different like worlds, like planets, or are they going to different versions of
Maybe they're all
the
going to
different
different
planets?
books.
Maybe.
It's like literally Wasted's best little hub world there. You can go to any book.
That's right.
You
We,
want.
we are the neither world of book clubs.
Netherland.
Everywhere.
Speaking of literally wasted, we got just a couple minutes left till we
yeah.
hit the hour mark. Do we want to like
Yes, we have
summarize our thoughts here on this book and then make do some
I have announcements for.
announcements?
Yeah. Well,
So
I mean,
don't go anywhere.
I think it's pretty clear. I like the beginning. I like the end. Didn't like the middle, but I'm gonna keep reading.
Okay.
Nice.
You've convinced me. I'm sure that it gets better in the next two books. If I have the time, I'll definitely try to pick it up. We got more books to read for this book club, and I'm maxing it at like 1 to 2 books a month. Because I'm not a big reader like some of the other people here. But I talking about it again always helps me enjoy it more.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. And if I had all the time in the world, which next week I will,
Read.
I'll read.
Read.
Lucas, we already know what Tally is.
I will say I will continue this trilogy. I think for me, for the book club, and I reiterate this every time, Wool is my probably #1, Red Rising, and I would probably put this as like the next trilogy I would get to, but I've got to kind of work through some of those other
Hurry
ones.
up.
Oh yeah, sorry.
No, I meant like
No.
reading.
No, I know.
Read faster.
I read much more slowly than Talia, obviously.
Same.
But yeah, so I enjoyed it, and I would like to see where everything goes because Talia, and I think everyone can attest to that. Like, she hyped it up, so we got to see where it all ties together, and just the fact knowing that.
And if
Some of the
you're really
stuff,
disappointed I was wrong, I'll mail you a
no,
cookie.
some of the stuff from the end of the book that ties into that first scene with the recruiter, I didn't even put that together until you mentioned that. So I'd love to go back and read it and then kind of see how it all weaves together.
So Talia's
So,
not
like-
the only one that kept going. Julie did the same thing. She said she read the whole trilogy, couldn't stop. I mean, everybody who's read the trilogy is saying that it's worth it. Randomness Rules on YouTube says, I'm in. Kesley says, I love this book. Great pick, Lit Fam. You know, Caitlin on Facebook says, hated the beginning, but the second half totally won me over. Ready for the next book now. So we've got some overall positive feedback on this book, which segues into Talia's announcements.
Well, and I will say, like, to one last comment, when I finished the book, my initial reaction was a mix between meh and, well, that was weird. And I was just kind of like, not super psyched, but still committed to reading the rest of the trilogy. And there was some stuff that, especially in the second book, that it was hard for me to get through, but it continued to build. And I'm just incredibly glad that I read the whole thing by the time I was done. I
Joe
really am.
just reiterated that. He said book 2 was good, but book 3
yes,
made it for me.
It's just, it keeps becoming more and more intricate until by the time it's done, it's this beautifully created piece.
And Jennifer on YouTube says, yep, I'm in for the long haul. I'm convinced this discussion helped.
Yes!
So we did it. Yes, Jennifer.
Okay. So, announcements. Thank you everyone for your incredible comments. If you've been watching this whole time and you have not made a comment, please do so now,
Say
because
something.
that comment enters you automatically. You only got to make one. No need to spam. Automatically enters you to win our Mostly Mystery Box, which is a really weird name for the digital gift card that you are going to win. You could win a $100 gift card to shop online at Books A Million and the rare and collectible section from Second and Charles, which is on the Books A Million website. So thank you so much to Books A Million for donating that to us. Thank you so much to Second and Charles for always helping out. Speaking of Second and Charles, happy birthday today to Sierra Patterson.
Happy birthday, Sierra.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday, Sierra. Sierra is basically our fairy godmother from Second and Charles. Anytime we stream in the store, she is the one that takes care of us and sets everything up for us. She helps us a lot with marketing on the Second and Charles side, and she's a magical fairy, and it is her birthday. So, what are my other announcements? Oh, Friday.
The book and Friday.
Yes, today is Wednesday. In case you forgot, today is Wednesday. 2 days from today, Friday, our usual time, 7:30 p.m. Central, 8:30 Eastern, we will be having another live discussion.
You
But
don't
it
want to miss
Q&A,
this one.
live
Yes,
Q&A.
it will be a Q&A with the author of The Magicians, Lev Grossman, who's going to grace us with his presence. We're super thrilled.
Live.
So be thinking, it will be a live Q&A with him. So how that's going to work is just like y'all are commenting at us now, comment your questions. So be thinking you have 2 days to think of what you want to ask him about the first book, or about being an author, or being a writer, or maybe his hobbies. But
Yeah.
try and stay away from the rest of the trilogy. We don't want to spoil anything for anybody. We're not going to talk about the TV show.
Yeah,
but
it's a great
think of the
opportunity to talk to
questions.
an author.
Yes, and submit those questions in the comments. We will go through and screen everything, and we will read them aloud for him, and he will give us his answers, and I'm so excited.
Yeah.
We'll try to get to as many questions as we can. We want to make sure that y'all's voices are heard in this Q&A. So we're just here to facilitate that. We'll have a few questions, but we want your questions to be heard. So yeah. Think, what is your process like? What are your favorite colors? That sort of stuff. Just ask him anything. He's here for us. So
Candy on YouTube asks, can you win by commenting on YouTube or Facebook? Yes.
Yes.
Either live stream, comment just
Yeah, we
One,
pull it
both,
together.
wherever. We combine everything, and we have a random picker that Adam magically uses, and it chooses a winner for us.
There's magic.
Also, the
Magicians.
final announcement. Thank you, Misty on YouTube. What is the next book? The next book is Kill the Farm Boy by Delilah
S.
Dawson and Kevin Hearn. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You can actually go on booksamillion.com and use the code all caps one word farm boy and get 15% off that book. They've given it just for our book club members. So once again, thank you, Books a Million. What?
Is it 15 or 20?
20%?
I thought it was 20. I think it's 20.
20%. I'm tired.
That's even more money you save.
Yes. So there you go. So don't forget to get that as well. Our first discussion for that will be on May 15th. That's what I was thinking. The first discussion's on May 15th.
Yes.
And that book, I'm really looking forward to that book. It's supposed to be funny and fun. It's going to take sort of that classic Once Upon a Time and injects a lot of humor, supposedly. So it should be really fun. It's also the
first book in a trilogy.
Yeah, so we've got a couple people commenting on YouTube. Kathleen, yes, we always keep these video discussions on demand, so you can go back and watch anything. We will also have that in podcast format. So tomorrow, this discussion will be available in podcast format. The only thing I had to say is next Wednesday, we will be reading The Time Raider for Adventures in Reading. That's a fun little choose your own adventure, casual, super casual discussion where you get to choose where we go in the adventure. And the cool thing about this series is it was a Scholastic series. It was their answer to Choose Your Own Adventure. And R.L. Stein was a contributor and one of the major writers in this series. So this is the first book in Twist the Plot, The Time Raider, and R.L. Stein wrote it. So hop in. It's super casual, a lot of fun. We just get to hang out and geek out about books.
And listen, if this is your first time tuning into a live stream, thank you so much. We hope you had fun and you enjoyed it. This is a book club for everybody, and we hope you come back. Please come back.
Also, be sure to, we're also we're on Instagram and Twitter, and we post silly nerd stuff there, but we have a Facebook group called the Literarily Wasted Lounge. Join that group. We talk about all the books all the time.
It is the most positive, fun,
everybody's
uplifting
so
group
nice
on the internet. I will say everyone's super awesome, and thank you to everybody in the group. You're wonderful.
And there are some new Facebook features that are coming sometime soon that will allow us to inject even more community into this amazing group, where we can basically have in Facebook basically Zoom conferences with everybody, which would be a lot of fun. So I hope they roll those out sooner than later, because I'm really interested in trying those. But
we got randomness rules. Adam Pittman, got a couple new faces. So everybody, welcome. We're so glad you found us, and we love books. We love geeking out. We're in that group, and we're conversing with you guys all the time, and we love it.
Yeah. So again, thank you so much for tuning in, and if you had fun, come back. Come back Friday, 2 days from now.
Friday, Lev Grossman.
Christy, you have 2 days to read the whole rest of the trilogy so we can talk about it.
I'm on it. Not going to happen.
Well, thanks again, everybody, for tuning in. We hope you had fun, and we'll sign off now, but we'll see you Friday.
Are you?
Bye, everybody.